You found a place to belong here in the circle of friends. I'm Missy, and Joanne, you and Carol have stuck with me through the whole week. Thank you. It's Friday.
It's a pleasure.
Oh,
definitely.
It has been a wonderful, wonderful week, and I love going through these Lared principles. They're taken straight from Proverbs. You can find them, listener, if you go out to lared.org, lared.org, and just take a look at that. I think this is really important stuff that we may be missing in our time that we're living in. You know, values, principles, character. Sometimes that's found wanting in the world.
I would think so.
But God has given us all we need in His Word, and I love that these are based on His Word and that biblical principles work. That's why God gave them to us.
And they're just as relevant today as they were 1,000 years ago.
Absolutely.
Crazy how relevant
Yeah,
they are.
Sometimes you read and you think, man, was this just written yesterday?
Right.
It fits. Good stuff. I think today we're going to do the principle of inspiration. And I love the thought to ponder that goes with this. It says, each day of our lives, we make deposits in the memory banks of those we meet. That becomes our reputation. And so is your reputation one of inspiration? We hope so. So we're going to start out with this. And in Proverbs 13:12, it says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. But when dreams come true at last, there is life and joy. Fear is a motivator. It is an important one, but it is used primarily to establish order and parameters. If we control people by fear only, we are poor leaders. Good leaders understand the importance of rules that are feared, but also understand that the law worketh wrath. Man cannot live by the law alone. Sooner or later he will be a rebel. In order to develop a long-lasting, successful family, business, or society, we must design a system that gives everyone personal dreams, opportunity, and hope.
If we have no dreams and see no opportunities, we lose hope. And when we lose hope, we get angry, feel unfulfilled, which may turn into despondency and will cause some even to commit suicide. As long as there's hope, we can, and most of all will, keep on going. Hope comes from seeing possibilities, and possibilities come from active and creative minds.
God made us in His image to have ideas and to be creative, to calculate and analyze situations. When leaders try to stifle this creativity, sooner or later people will analyze the unfairness and break away from its control. We cannot stifle individuality forever. Communism was a good example of this. Their system was built on keeping everyone equal and having all things in common. Their idea was, give a man food, clothing, shelter, and he will be happy. This sounds good as a philosophy, but it does not work because we are not all designed to be the same. We're all created equal, but our outcomes will be different because each one of us can make choices. We have different gifts, temperaments, and creative ideas. This means some will pursue more than others, thus bringing different levels of understanding and opportunities.
To foster inspiration, we must create an environment where minds can work freely within a set of parameters. The parameters become the framework or guideline for creativity.
To motivate means to stimulate the mind and spirit of a person. This is what we call motivating by leading the minds of men and women. This is done by presenting dreams and possibilities to them, which will inspire them to pursue their future. They will be motivated from within, rather than controlled by external laws. They are led, not driven. This becomes their purpose or motive, the reason for living. If we give people an incentive or dream within the framework of our personal goals and ambitions, both will benefit. Our intent for inspiring others will always have to be for a win-win situation. Otherwise, it would be considered unfair and will boomerang on us.
All good leaders will use incentives and dream planning for motivating 10 to 1 over fear. They know fear must be a part of leading, but only as a last resort. Good leaders will focus on incentives and dream planning, which creates a powerful force within their employees, so they become self-motivated. They will need less management because they will be working as unto themselves. You know, as I'm reading all of this, I'm thinking, how many people really see God as a dictator or punisher or, up there with a ruler ready to wrap our hands for doing bad. You know what I'm saying? Like that's their vision of who God is. And And while it is true, he is holy and just and there will be judgment, that's not his true motivation. He loves us. That's his motivation. He is love. He sent his only son for us to die for us so that we could be with him. So we can get the hold of the wrong end of a thing here if we're not careful. And inspiring someone else has more to do with loving them than with trying to control them. And I think that's said so well by your dad here, Joanne, in this principle.
Well, and I see the correlate, like inspiring creativity was mentioned so much together. And isn't that what, like, our God is creative. Like we just witnessed that this weekend when we were at an arboretum with all these different plants from all around the world, and some of them just look crazy. and we were like, the creativity, how, that God has, and he has that for us as people, like to see what our potential is, to see our future. And I love the hope and the inspiration that comes from this value in knowing that God has so much for us, that his desire for us is to be all that we can be.
Yeah. He created us for that purpose.
And can you imagine if you really understood God's plan for you, or what potential God actually has inside of you that he's planted in you? I mean, think about that. We have a tendency to feel, maybe I've kind of topped out, kind of like, I'm whatever. But we have no idea what God has planted inside of us, what our actual potential is.
Well, and here's the thing, we're made in his image, so each one of us is creative. Sometimes we think, oh, well, if you're a quote-unquote creative kind of person, then you are an artist, or you're a dancer, or you're a musician, or you're one of the quote-unquote arts. But that's not true. I think a person who solves problems for a living, how creative are they? A MacGyver, so to speak. Someone who can fix something or figure out how to get the desired end result. That's creative. That's amazing. Or how about the woman who's on a shoestring budget and she's a great hostess and manages to feed a whole bunch of people? That's creative. Right. Do you know what I'm saying? There's so many different ways to be creative, and we all have that spark of creativity in us, placed there by the God who designed us, who made us like him in that way. It's a matter of finding what that is.
And one of the things that I find so fascinating these days is how much young people, they are so creative. Like they'll figure out how to feed the homeless. Or I watched this one video about a gal who figured out how to turn a coat into a sleeping bag for the homeless, and she sewed it and then hired people to sew them. And it's like there's so much possibility in their thinking. And if they can get a hold of, the ideas that are in their mind, it's like things that maybe even my generation wouldn't have thought possible. But young people, they're not limited. The world is like a small place, and they have tools, and I don't know, for some reason they just think everything's possible.
Yeah, they're dreamers.
They are.
Yeah, they dream. And I think it all starts with a dream. It starts with something that is on the inside of us. And a dream can inspire hope. And we all need hope. I mean, and it talks about hope in here. And it says, as long as there is hope, we can, and most of us will keep on going. So, we've all met people who you have felt like, and maybe you yourself have felt like giving up hope, But man, when you have God, there's always hope.
Absolutely.
You're never without hope. There is always hope. And I like this when it's talking about what good leaders will do, because it talks about the balance between fear and inspiration. And, fear has its place, but you will get a lot further with inspiration because it motivates the person. Fear can actually become heavy and stop the dreaming process. It's like, I want my employees to come up with creative things that we can do to help the business. I want them to feel inspired. I want them to feel like they're a part of a team, that their dreams matter, and even personally, what are your dreams personally? Where are you headed? We have had a lot of high school and college students working for us, and when they're a college student, they have a dream. They're working towards something for their future, and so we have them for a short period of time where we get to train them with a good work ethic, teach them responsibility. We can encourage them. And, like right now, I have this wonderful young girl that has worked for us for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years through high school. She's working her way through college. And at some point, I'm going to lose her, and I hate to lose her because she's such a good employee. But while we have her, we have the opportunity to inspire her to reach her goals and to even though we're going to lose her, we're going to lose her as an employee as she goes into her professional field when she gets out of school. But we have the opportunity to inspire her to follow her dreams, to follow what she is wanting to do, and it's an opportunity for us to speak into her life. And I love those opportunities. I love, we talked earlier too about hiring people that are know-it-alls and things like that. And so, when you hire a know-it-all, I mean, the inspiration, it's a completely different feeling. And so when you can hire somebody that you can train and you can inspire and you can teach, it's good for the employee and the employer, and it's good for the other people who are around them. And again, this is true for your family. You can inspire your children, or you can put the fear of God in them. I mean, it's your choice. But you're going to get a lot further if you can inspire them and encourage their creativity and encourage their future. So we're going to take a real quick break, and we'll be back here to talk about inspiration. So join us again here in a few minutes here in the Circle of Friends.
What should I wear? Our boutique at the Village Gift Barn has the answers. Arriving daily, our clothing is a delight. You will enjoy our wide variety and the uniqueness of each style. We offer many accessories to complete any outfit. Your answers can be found in our boutique that is never ordinary. Village Gift Barn, Berlin, Ohio.
We're back here in the Circle of Friends. Thanks for joining us today. You're with Missy and Joanne and Carol, and we've been looking at the leadership principle from Lored on inspiration, which is an interesting kind of principle. You know, are we
Right.
supposed to inspire people? How do we inspire people? What does that mean? What does that look like?
And we've been talking about, just all those positives, the creativity, the hope and all that. But there's that other side of the coin. What happens when people lose hope? And the value does address that. It says if we don't have dreams, we don't see opportunities, and we lose hope and we feel unfulfilled, and it can turn into despondency and even suicide. And I know that in our world, like it's something that I've come across just in my circle of friends, and how devastating that is. And how do we bring hope to people who are at that place, or need a dream, need hope in their life? And part of that, it does start with, we've talked this week about listening, we've talked about hearing people, we've talked about understanding people and where they are.
And we've talked a lot about communication and relationship. And, if you look around the people in your world, if you're in school somewhere, or even in a church or a neighborhood, there can be someone who's kind of, you would consider a loner, someone who doesn't really seem to be connected with people, someone that's kind of, you always see them alone, or they're quiet, or they're, I'm not sure how else to
Well, it's
word
the
that.
isolation, I think, that you have to
Yes,
look for,
that's
because
what we're
all
looking
of
for.
us,
Yes.
whether we're introverted or extroverted or whatever, we need the human touch. We need the human connection. We need that sense of belonging that we talked about earlier in the week, to feel appreciated and loved. We need to be heard. We need to feel like we matter and have purpose. And if we become isolated, whether through emotional or mental or physical or financial or whatever circumstances surround us, and we sort of become quote unquote pariah like. Nobody is a pariah. God loves all of us and He's created each one of us. But we can find ourselves in isolation, or there are people who find themselves in isolation. And I think if you get to a point where you have no hope, man, it becomes a really fast downward spiral. And let's face it, people are good at masking that, so we don't always know.
Well, and often when you hear things that are happening in the news, you hear suicide or even school shootings
Yes.
or whatever, the neighbors will say, I should have seen this,
Yeah.
or I should have, there were signs. And so if we can learn to look at those people and understand they need relationship, they need hope, they need someone in their lives to speak and be an inspiration to them. Because without hope, really, who wants to live without hope?
Yeah.
And I think if people are in that place, if any of our listeners are in that place, to reach out to someone, be proactive, and don't wait to get to that place of despondency, but reach out. There's counselors available, or a friend, share with them. You feel hopeless, or, don't be afraid. The walls are coming down to these issues, and I love that we live in a time where we can talk about the issues, and we can help people to a path of healing and wholeness. But reach out to a counselor, find a phone number, reach out to a friend, tell them what you're feeling, and reach out to the Lord too for dreams,
Absolutely.
and to see what He has for you.
Well, and if you're on the other side, and you think, well, I don't know, then do the things that we've talked about this week. Take the opportunity to reach out and encourage someone. You do not know the impact you might have on someone's life merely by seeing the good in them, the God creativity in them, the God inspired person that they're meant to be. Maybe they're not there yet. That's okay. If you believe in the Lord and you know that He is creator and that He loves, for God so loved the world, then every person we run across has that potential in them to be something amazing. Amazing. I have that potential. I'm not there yet, but someone seeing that in me will draw me closer to that potential, or to to be willing to hear about the Lord or to see myself in that position. So take the opportunity to be an encouragement and a light in the world and look at people through the eyes of the Lord himself.
People want hope of a future. And when you have no hope of a future, and I love this paragraph. It says, to motivate means to stimulate the mind and spirit of a person. This is what we call motivating by leading the minds of men and women. This is done by presenting dreams and possibilities to them, which will inspire them to pursue their future.
Yeah.
And, when you don't have a dream and you have and your future looks bleak and there's just no hope for the future, you need dreams, you need goals, you need people to inspire you. And so we all have the opportunity to be that inspiration for a person. You don't know what the simple words you say to a person can either build or destroy that person. You have the opportunity to be inspiration to a person. And I don't think any one of us would want to intentionally destroy someone. But we can be very intentional about inspiring people.
Well, and I think of Proverbs 18:21 that tells us that death and life are in the power of the tongue. We have that ability to speak life into people or to speak death. And we talked earlier this year, it was this year, but it was this week, about past paradigms. What was the culture you grew up in? A lot of people hear voices in their head, and not in a weird way, but they hear the things that have been spoken over them throughout their life. Well, you're stupid, or you're not smart, or you're not pretty, or you're just the negativity of things, or things they may, as we talked about earlier, communication. That's what they heard, even if it wasn't exactly what was said. So, and Carol, you said earlier that it takes 10 positives to kind of negate the negative. I think for me it takes more than that, even sometimes, because I always go back to the negative rather than the positive. So our opportunity to speak life into people is huge. It's huge. And it's just merely taking the opportunity as God brings people across your path. Pray, ask the Holy Spirit to lead you. If you don't know what to say, ask him. He'll give you the words. We read in James earlier this week that let him ask if any man lacks wisdom, let him ask of God. He will give to all liberally and without reproach. It's theirs, it's ours for the asking.
When you think about the fact that you can either make or break another person, I mean, that really causes you to stop and think about the words you're saying, because it's literally life and death.
Yeah. And I've seen this in the work environment and other places where people will be upset and they'll react to something and they'll say something and they'll say something derogatory or negative, and then maybe they'll feel bad and they'll try to take it back. You can't take back words like that. You have to have control of the tongue, which is why James talks about it so much. But oh my goodness, if you have done that, yes, apologize and try to make amends, but recognize that you've caused destruction, and it's going to take a lot of positive reinforcement and encouragement to build that person back up. And even, you speak the truth in love. I'm not saying that there aren't issues that we have to deal with, but a lot of times we don't deal with the issue. We just deal with our reaction to whatever's going on. So we say things that are not completely true.
And we definitely say things without thinking about what's coming.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody is stupid. Nobody's an idiot, but you know what? I confess I've used those words. Not generally not to their face. It's usually in the car. But we all know how Missy does in the car. Missy's working on that, and I have repented of that. But seriously, you can just and just say something, but it's not truth, and so you're speaking death. Do you want to speak death? Or you want to speak life? A better thing to say is, I'm really frustrated. Maybe I've got the problem here. You know what I'm saying? Not that person is whatever, but maybe it's me and not them. So, my
if
goodness.
you're used to just letting things roll off your tongue easily,
No
it's
discipline.
It's not something that comes easy. You have to work at that.
Yeah.
That has to be intentional. It's not going to happen
Well,
accidentally.
I'm just the kind of person that speaks my mind, Joanne. So you just have to get along. Yeah, I've heard people say that, and I think, oh no, please, no, be a disciplined person who guards your tongue and understands how important that is. That the words that you say matter, and it has a huge, huge impact on other people. It absolutely does. and go for the positive rather than the negative. I mean, I'm trying to train myself to go that way because frustration in life is real. Whether that's if you're a mom of young kids, or you've got teenagers, or you're dealing with family, or you're in an employment
a
situation,
job.
or you got a job,
or if you have a husband,
or
if you have a friend,
if you're
or a neighbor.
breathing and you know other people around you, it can be frustrating. There's no question. But to remember that the words that we speak are so important and so powerful. So powerful.
And can inspire. I think about my husband too. I don't like to use, I do like to use him as an example, but he lives his life different than he thought because of some disabilities. But he does what he can, and he reaches out and touches other people. He does birthday cards for people, and we've just been talking about him doing a volunteer maybe at the nursing home or something, but he keeps reaching out, and that is what keeps him going too. It's adding value to other people's lives that gives him hope and inspiration as well.
And we can all do that.
Right? That's right. Yeah, yes.
But what a way to have purpose in life when not everything turned out the way you wanted it. To still be there to give and to pour into other people. What a blessing.
Yes. Yeah, he is very, and then that in itself is inspiring. We're talking about inspiration. But I do think that to keep those hopes, dreams alive is to keep growing and have a mind that says, no, I have something to give that no one else can give.
It gives his
each
life
person is
purpose.
special.
And often the person in that position will feel like there is no purpose.
Right.
And he chooses to have purpose.
Yes.
It's a choice.
He does. And he does choose every day to do that. But everybody can do that, to make that choice, to know that if you're here, you are important and there's no one that can take your place. No one can be you. And so that in itself is an inspiration that we are all created different. And all created with gifts and talents, and all created with something to offer that no one else can. And I just think that in itself is so inspiring. Well, I love this Thoughts to Ponder, Joanne, that you read, and I'm just going to read it again because I think it's so worth repeating. Each day of our lives, we make deposits in the memory banks of those we meet. That becomes our reputation. And I think our reputation, we want to be an inspiration to people, to leave that deposit in their memory banks.
That is a wonderful way to end this week. And, again, it brings me back to the memory that you had as a child in school when a teacher took the time to speak into your life. He made a deposit, and it became a reputation.
Absolutely.
It became a reputation that you will always have of him. And we all have that opportunity every day. Every day we have the opportunity to speak and speak life and inspire someone around us. That is something that is presented as an opportunity every day of your life. So I challenge you to take that and speak life and be an inspiration to people around you. Whether it's your family, your coworkers, your neighbors, there are always people who need a positive word, and you have the ability to speak and be the inspiration. So go for it. Do what it takes to make a difference in someone's life. So thank you so much for joining us. This has been such a fun week. I love when we have a chance to go through these principles, and we hope that you have learned something and that you will apply some of the things that we've talked about this week and go out there and be an inspiration to those around you. Thank you for joining us here in the Circle of Friends.
Thanks to generous donations, this program is produced by Circle of Friends Ministries. You can write to us at P.O. Box 345, Berlin, Ohio 44610, or contact us at 330-852-0000. You've found a place to belong.